what got you here won't get you there. And it's this idea that, what may have made you successful doesn't necessarily mean that that's the formula of your success going forward.
So welcome to Harmony in the Hustle. Gillian, it's so fabulous to have you here today. I've been wanting to have you on our show, so I'm very excited that you're here today. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. And I'm excited too. And it has taken us, I think it's taken us at least 3 months, but we've pulled it off today. So fantastic.
I know. Yeah. Well, that's what it's like. Life is like that. You've been busy. I know you've had so much going on in your career as well. So, you're doing great guns. I see you everywhere and you're amazing. And I have to say, one of the things, I know you and I met at, I think we met through Tina Tower's program, her Empire Builder, many years ago when I first started out. When I left the restaurants and I decided that I was going to start, online business and keynote speaking. You're one of the first people that I met at Tina's group too. And you're always so lovely and gracious and kind. And, I just watched you, bloom, and you're just doing so well in your career as well. But I remember thinking to myself, and I've heard other people say this about you, you are such a class act. You really are. And you really walk the talk. And I think in life, when you're looking for mentors and coaches, it's really important who you listen to and the advice that you take from people. So I think that if you came to me and you said, like, I am a women's career expert and I help women in their careers to progress, I would say, great. I would definitely take advice from you because you're someone that really walks the talk and you're a class act and you always do such great work and you've got a lot of integrity and and that's what people think about you.
Thank you, Ange. That's
Yeah.
so kind. And I do remember attending the conference, and
Mhm.
it was a very long table. It was at this beautiful restaurant, and we were all wearing white that evening. And
Yes.
you and I sat opposite each other. And that
Each
was
other, we
where
did.
we got to know each other. Yeah. And it was absolutely lovely. And the connection was formed then. And I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
enjoyed our friendship and talking business with you over those years. I feel like we've both done a great job with our businesses.
Yes, we both have. And I think that there's a key there. I think that it's about putting yourself in the room with investing in mentors and coaches and programs to be able, not only do you get the success and the information and everything that you need to move ahead to progress, but you meet incredible people who become your friends and not only just business associates, but they also become your long-term lifetime friends that you can talk to about business. So I think it's really important to be putting yourself in the arena because you never know who you're going to meet, the sort of friends you're going to make and the connections that you're going to have that can also not just be friends for you, but also help you in your career as well.
It's so true. It's so true. And a lot of my work is in the corporate sector. And so
Yeah.
when people talk about building the right networks and that sort of thing, it's
Mm.
often they're thinking upward, so the more senior people. But I often talk about the value of your peer network, and we're peers, and
Mm.
because your peer network can be so many things that can help you along. They can give you market insight, well,
Yes.
this is what I've heard, or they
Yep.
can be the best cheerleaders. You might
Yep.
be having a difficult time and they will push you through. They have information. Like they're such a important piece. But over and
Yeah.
above that, you will always have a couple of people in your peer group that will go on to be very, very successful.
Yes.
And, they may end up helping you in surprising ways because of that connection early on. So I just think it's an overlooked area of networking, but such a valuable one.
No, it's true. I love that. It was peer networking, you said? Your peer
Yeah,
network? Yeah.
your peer
That
network. Mhm.
Yeah, your peer network. I love that. And this is a really important point too, I think I have to touch on. It's about cheering each other on. And it's about there's enough work for everybody. It's about cheering each other on, making sure you have each other's back. When you see one of the women in the industry doing well, you support them, you comment. Don't just flick through. You just go, oh, wow, I'm happy for her. Great. And whenever you see what you see in someone else, this is what I've always been taught. And I really wholeheartedly believe this is what you admire in someone else, you already have in you. So what you're seeing in someone else,
Mm.
just know that you've got that inside you as well. That's why you're admiring it. And you've got to bring it out. That's the key thing. And I also believe that if you're seeing someone succeed, just cheer them on because they will be the ones that will cheer you on as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, the first question I wanted to ask you today in our interview, because you're also part of the Successful Women's series that I've been doing. And, I love interviewing women and talking about the success that they've had and how they got there and, what they overcame to get here. So the first question that I wanted to ask you today, Gillian, was you had a successful corporate career, right? And you stepped away, you decided to step away from that world and you moved into coaching and leadership for women. So that must have been a very interesting transition, like a huge transition for you professionally and personally. So first of all, how did you make that transition? How did that happen for you? And what was the catalyst for your change to move into this world?
Well, and I think like a lot of people, you probably never knew in your 20s that you were going to have a successful series of shops like you did or that you're doing what you do today.
Yes, never
I
saw that
never
coming.
expected, never saw that coming, right?
Never saw it coming.
I never I never expected this to be my path, but soon as I stepped into running my own business, I absolutely loved it from
Mm,
the moment it all began. But let me go back a
yeah.
little bit. I started my career at News Corp. I came from this media family. So my parents had a successful media business. My
Oh, wow.
father-in-law had an advertising agency. My husband worked in the industry too. So I really grew up in media. And when
Mhm.
I got my first job there, I was still at uni. I was actually studying law at the time at night time. I was married because I was 21 and married. So I got married very young. I had to make money. And I thought it would just be just a time to pass, to be quite honest. I thought I'll just hang here for a bit, kill some time until I get my law career off the ground.
Yeah, right.
But what I realized was media was really fun, Ange.
Yeah, it is. I love media. I agree.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So, and I could see if I worked hard, I could make a good career for myself. And
Right.
there are a lot of opportunities. And honestly, by the time I was 25, I had a small team. They sent me to the UK for 4 months to work with the Times newspapers. Like I was afforded lots of different fantastic career enabling opportunities.
Opportunities, yeah.
Then at 31, I had a child, and that little
Mhm.
child is now 23 and 6'5". But at that time, I was offered a very unexpected opportunity to move. I think Ollie would have been about 8 months at the time.
Mhm.
And I had this opportunity to move into a magazine role, which is very aligned with what I wanted to do next. But the timing was appalling. It was absolutely
Mm.
appalling. I'd been back at work about 3 months and I got offered this big role. And it was to lead 120 people. It was across 12 magazines. It was reporting directly to the CEO. It was a good, solid step up for me. And I wasn't sure to take it. Like I was really quite scared, to be quite honest with you. My
Mm.
husband was 100% behind me. He's like, this is fantastic. You should just do it. The thing that pushed me over the edge, it always makes me laugh when I think about this. Somewhere along the way, I read this piece of data that if a
Mm.
man was offered a job and he had 60% of the credentials, he would say yes immediately and work out the rest when he gets in the gig.
Mm.
And women, 95%. And then they're like, maybe I shouldn't.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm not well equipped enough to step up to this
Mhm.
role right now. And I shouldn't say yes. And I thought about this piece of data and I thought, damn it, if a bloke takes this job and he has the same level of experience as me, you're
Yeah.
going to kick yourself, Gillian Fox. You're going to kick yourself.
Yes.
You've got to give this a red hot go.
Gotta give it a go. Well done.
And so yeah, and so I did. And it was a really good stretch experience. It was a little bit like The Devil Wears Prada. Like it was
I was about
hard
to say that.
work.
I was gonna talk about that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can see that. Would have been like that.
Yeah. It was a lot for someone so young with so much responsibility. But if
Yeah.
you fast track and the years kind of unfolded, and
Mm.
then there was a time when I was offered another role, super exciting role, but I wasn't
Mm.
excited. And like I felt nothing
Okay.
with this new opportunity. And I knew then
Yep.
and there, I had at the back of my mind that maybe I could start my own business. And I knew
Mhm.
when I wasn't inspired by that new opportunity that perhaps the time was more now than
Yeah.
down the track. And I went
Right.
home and I chatted to John about it. I was the main breadwinner. It was a really big decision. And I said, what do you think? I have no experience, want to start this business, but I think I can give it a go. What are your thoughts? And he sat and he listened to me and he listened to me and he said, I think you should do it, Gil. I think you should.
Yes.
Worst case
Yes.
scenario, you go
That,
back and you
love
get
that.
another job. Go give
That's
it
a good case
a crack.
scenario. You go back and you get another job. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I did, Ange. And you know what?
Yeah.
I didn't have any business for the first 3 months. I was terrified.
Yeah.
And I kept going out and I kept talking to people and I kept talking to people. And then I got this one piece of business in the Gold Coast and it was a decent piece of business and it got me moving. And I had so much to work out because there was so much I didn't know that I was pretending to know.
Yeah.
I was just like joining the dots and fudging my way through every single day. But I remember
Yep.
I'd get on the tarmac at Gold Coast Airport at 8 o'clock every second week with this piece of
Mm.
work. No one was happier than me. I
Yeah,
would
sure.
walk across that tarmac and I'd be like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, you're loving it. Yeah. And you knew you were in the right place and that it was your calling and that you were good at it and it felt you enjoyed it, you enjoyed what you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really beautiful story because I think there's so much in that. And I think there's so much we can talk about because taking that risk, and a lot of, like you said, women don't necessarily take that risk. I think it's Richard Branson who says when you're given a great opportunity, just jump off the cliff and work out how to build your wings on the way down. And I think that's where men would and a lot of women wouldn't. I personally have done that my entire life. I've always taken the risks and I think you have as well. So I think this conversation is really, really important because I believe that it's important to understand that you become resourceful. You just figure it out as you go. You don't have to have all the answers to get started. And that's the most, if anything that comes out of this talk, I think that's probably the most important thing is what you've just shared there, is that sometimes it's important to, I don't have all the experience, but somehow I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you do figure it out. I mean, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling belief, isn't it? If you say to
Yeah.
yourself, I'm hopeless at networking,
Mm-hmm.
you probably won't be receptive to arriving at the
Yeah.
function and even trying. Whereas if you
Yeah.
say, doesn't come naturally to me, but I'm going to give it a red hot go today, you are going to be much more open and you're going to put the effort in to see what you can achieve in that moment. It's a very different
Absolutely.
style of thinking.
Definitely a different style of thinking. And it's really about personal development. I think sometimes when you're listening to a lot of information and podcasts and women in business, this is the theme that will always be the same, is that they had a go, that they became resourceful, they figured it out as they went, and anyone can. You can too. I mean, it's like that, just so much resources at your fingertips these days to figure it out. You don't have to have all the answers to get started. So I think it's a really, really important point. The other thing I want to talk about now is because you've moved into this world now where you've moved out of the corporate arena and you've moved into this coaching world and you're helping women in business. So you work a lot with high performing women and a lot of them are leading teams, they're driving outcomes, they're influencing these organizations. So what is the common thread that you find in these women? So I look at them sometimes, you know who they are when they walk in the room. There's something about them, they have, what qualities or the behaviors do you think these high-performing women have that set them apart in leadership? Is there a common thread that you're finding with these type of women that are succeeding?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. And I think you will see exactly the same qualities, to be quite honest, and with the
Mm.
women that you work with.
Mm.
Firstly, I think it's their ability to grow and evolve continuously. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
can sound a little headliney or cliche, but there's a concept I talk a lot about in leadership and the work that I do. And you've heard me say it too, Angela, like, what got you here won't get you there. And it's this idea that, what may have made you successful doesn't necessarily mean that that's the formula of your success going forward. And I think that's especially true for high performing women. So
Yeah.
often the very behaviors that help someone succeed early in their career, and I'm talking more about women in corporate,
Mm.
such as being highly capable, hardworking, very reliable, detailed-oriented, always saying yes, all of those things, being the fixer, they're the exact behaviors that made them successful to that point. But then they become the limiting behaviors at that next level of leadership.
Mm.
And you think about that, like early on in your career, organizations reward execution. Like you're rewarded for being
Sure.
responsive. Yeah. For
Mm.
being hands-on, for being
Mm,
efficient. And it's easy to get very, very good at that and thinking, okay, I'll just build my career on competence and consistency. But
mm,
senior leadership and to become a high performer, it actually requires something different. And at those
mm.
higher levels, success is less about doing everything yourself. It's more about influence. It's
Yep.
more about visibility,
Mhm.
strategic thinking, decision making, leading through other people.
Mm.
It requires a shift in identity almost
Yes,
because
definitely.
you've got to be someone different.
Yes.
And that shift can be incredibly uncomfortable because it means letting go of that old identity of the behaviors that always
Yeah.
felt safe and
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting space to operate in. Yeah.
Mm.
And the other thing, Ange, I think is courage.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mean like loud, noisy courage that people,
Mm.
thump their
No,
chest and say, I'm going to do this and that. I just mean the courage to quietly back yourself.
back yourself.
Yeah. And that might be having the courage to be a bit more visible on social media. It might
Sure.
be having the courage to make a hard decision or a
Mm.
difficult conversation or to stop people pleasing or just to
Mm.
trust their own judgment. Like all of those things.
No,
Say that again. Sorry, Ange.
stop second guessing yourself on every decision.
Definitely. Yeah,
Just
because that
trust
takes
yeah.
up a lot of space as well. And we know when we're in that space of feeling that we're operating with certainty, you're always
Yeah.
going to be so much more purposeful and driven.
Yes.
So the best leaders and the best high performing women, they are still learning constantly. They're
Yep.
curious, they're reflective, they're adaptive. Like they're all of those things. I think coaching helps them a lot
Mm.
in that space because coaching creates that moment of pause where you get to really, put the spotlight on what's working in my performance, what do I need to do more of, less of, or differently to get
Yeah.
that next level. It creates that curiosity and
Yeah.
helps you build that adaptability into your into who you are, that next
Yeah.
identity.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, you've answered that really well. And I think that I also think with what you were just saying then, Gillian, is the leadership stuff. So if you look at this, you've been able to lead yourself your entire life. You know that you can get the results. You know that you can do this, you can do that. You're a problem solver. You're someone that the company has looked at to do these things, right? But then when you become a high performing woman, you have a team, it's about leading other people. Very tricky there's a very different situation, isn't it? About leading others, managing others, because that's where the identity shift, I believe, has to happen. I know when I was doing the restaurants, I could lead myself. But when I had to lead other people, it was one of the hardest things I had to do was managing people. And that's the identity shift because you need to actually be somebody that is worthy of a following, right? So are you a leader that is worthy of people following you? Do you do what you say you're going to? Do you walk the talk? Are you a good leader? So I think there's a lot
Mm.
in that as well. So I think, yeah, like you said, the coaching regularly and pausing and reflecting on how what's working, what's not working is how these high performing women are reaching that because they keep evolving, they keep learning, they keep coaching, they keep doing the personal development on themselves. So they're aware of where their, shortfalls are and where they need to work on it. I mean, it's like anything in life. So I think you've really hit the nail on the head there with that because that's really an important point about that identity shift. And do you find that, for women who really want to progress in their careers and move into these bigger leadership roles, what do you believe would be like the first step right now for them to be able to move into a bigger leadership role if they were going to do that right now in their careers?
So if they're like a mid-level leader and they want to go up to that
We want
next
the
notch.
next level. So say for somebody that might be either starting out or mid-level or even higher, they want to move to the next level in leadership.
Yeah.
What do you find is one of the things that is going to help them with the next step to get there?
Well, Ange,
Coaching?
no, no. I think the first step, the thing that you need to do, and maybe you do need coaching to help you to actually do this, is
Mm,
you've got to make your ambitions known. Like, don't assume that people know what you want. And I don't
yeah.
think it's any different in any line of business. What is your ask? What do you want
Mhm.
from these things? And I think a lot of women make the assumption because they've got this great track record. Gosh, I've had these
Oh,
great performance reviews. I get all this good feedback. People like me, that they're a shoo-in. And it just
yeah.
doesn't work like that.
No.
Um, and let me give you an example, because I think this
Mhm.
is a very important point. I really do, because I think women can make a lot of assumptions and then be very disappointed.
Yeah.
So, a scenario that I remember seeing in corporate, but I have also experienced this through women that I've coached, and they've missed out on a role.
Right.
And they've been absolutely shocked as to why they've missed out on the role. And yes, they didn't speak up. Okay.
Right.
And
Because they
it can
thought
be
they were
the
next in line? Is that why? They thought, like, they looked like
well,
they were next
let's
in
take a scenario. Let's pretend we're talking about Mary. Okay, we'll just
Mm.
call her Mary. And let's say
Mhm.
Mary is a great operator. She's
Mhm.
had all these fantastic track record in terms of being valued, and her boss leaves. So
Ah,
she
right,
thinks
okay.
that she is going to get that role. Okay,
Mhm.
everything, she just assumes she's a shoe in for that role. But then in the background, the leadership team sits down to discuss what they're going to do about that vacancy. And
Mm.
someone says at that table, one of the leaders says, "What about Mary?"
Mm.
And then another senior person at the table very quickly steps in and says, "You know what? I think Mary's happy where she is." Anyway, Sarah's
Mhm.
applied and the interviews are next week, and the
Mhm.
conversation moves on. Now, that is literally how quickly it can happen.
Right.
Mary was on the table, now she's off the table.
Mm.
And this is how it plays out. Mary doesn't get the job. Mary
Mhm.
gets a new boss. She's now reporting to someone she doesn't think is any better than her.
Mhm.
She's naturally a bit miffed by all of this.
Mhm.
And so she sits there now, not with the positive attitude that she had before, because she's a bit frustrated.
Mhm.
And let's say several months transpire and another opportunity comes up. And this time Mary thinks, right, I'm speaking up.
Mhm. I
This
got
job is mine. So here's the thing, and this is a very important point to make. So in this scenario, Mary is speaking up, but she's speaking up with frustration because she's annoyed. She comes across as a bit demanding. And unfortunately, that rarely helps someone's case. It's very hard to
Mm.
influence when you're in those emotional states, negative
Yes.
emotional states.
Yes. Yes.
And I think this is the part we don't talk enough about.
Right.
Women are constantly told to speak up, to back themselves, to ask for more. And I
Mhm.
agree with all of that. But my thing is, do it well.
Do it well.
Do it well.
And do it, I think, from what I'm hearing, do it regularly. So no one knew that Mary wanted that role. So Mary's role in that was to constantly be or regularly talking about her value, what she brings to the table, how she sees this, where her career is going, or should she be regularly talking to her superior about that? Like, what is it? Because you talk a lot about this commercial credibility, right? So being more strategic in what you do. So this is about adding more value and making it more visible in your position and becoming more influence, having more influence, but doing that effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think, you're absolutely spot on. Like your point there is, she should have been drip feeding this.
Mm,
It would have been so much easier for her. Like if
mm,
she had 3 conversations, just 3 over the
sure.
last 2
Yeah.
years, they would have been crystal clear that she had this appetite for that role,
Yeah. Yeah.
and her name wouldn't have come off the table at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the point is with Mary, so if she goes in and she's a bit miffed and has a conversation, it's not a good conversation. And if you're gonna speak up and ask for anything in business, you need to do it well. It
Yeah.
cannot come from a place of, "I've earned this."
Exactly.
You've got to deliver a business case. How is this gonna add value to the business, to the success of the business? How are you gonna contribute to it?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I think is really important for women to learn, is
Mm,
how do they showcase their strategic thinking and their
yes.
business acumen in that
Mm.
way, because that's how you make your value visible.
Yeah, I love that. And that's where I think you don't have to be the loudest woman in the room. You don't have to be, oh, she's just bubbly and she's an extrovert and I'm an introvert. So I can't get these roles or I can't get these positions. I don't believe in any of that because I really believe it comes down to your attitude, not necessarily always your experience. It's your attitude and how your attitude is what is going to get you where you want to go. So would you find that with women that you're seeing, that you're coaching and everything, and you're sharing all this information, is that it's really about your attitude and how you are thinking about it? Like, yeah, not coming in resentful, not coming in, you see it so many times, somebody didn't get the job or whatever, and then that's it. They're not happy. I can't believe he got it over me. I've been doing this. I've got the experience, blah, blah, blah. But that's the key, I guess, is that your attitude around these things, and how am I going to stack the odds in my favor that this doesn't happen to me again?
Yeah. Yeah. I think attitude counts for a lot. People talk
Yeah,
about energy and all
yeah,
this. It's exactly the same thing. Like, yeah,
yeah,
and we remember, that old adage, it's how you make people feel. It is how you make people feel.
yeah,
People will walk away from a meeting going, that was great. I would love to do
yeah,
more work with them.
yeah,
Or something just felt off for me there. I
yeah.
just You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to lean into it for whatever
Mm,
reason. You may not even be able to articulate it, but
yes,
there's something there that doesn't feel right for you.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it does come from attitude and
Mhm.
the self-leadership piece, and,
Mm,
is we have to manage ourselves because not
yeah.
every day you're going to feel energized and positive. But if you want to get business outcomes, you need to think about, well, who do I need to be today? What does my
Mm.
attitude and energy need to be like to get that result?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important, because I think that's the stuff that you leave all that sort of stuff at home. You're there, you're doing your job, you're doing your business, you're running it. I think everybody has a story. There's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives, even more so these days than ever before. But I think that you've really, when you are presenting yourself out there in the world, it's really about your attitude, which I think that self-leadership is unbelievably important. I think what I read once recently in your actual newsletter, you spoke about personal branding and, having your profile photos done. It's your reputation, it's presenting yourself professionally. And why do you believe that personal brand and the perception of how people see you really matters in leadership today? And I think obviously that will be one of the biggest catalysts to you progressing in your career. So, why do you think
Yeah.
that's really important today? Because I know you wrote this beautiful newsletter around this whole personal branding.
Yeah. Well, everyone does have a reputation, Ange, like it or not. Like, we've all got a reputation. Like,
Mm,
you are known for things. I am known for things. We
mm.
just, fingers crossed, hope we're known for the right things.
Yep. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But people forget that they've got a reputation.
Yeah.
And, the question is, what do you want to be known for?
Mm.
And that's about how you're curating a personal brand and
Yeah.
the way you present yourself and the way people experience you. And I'm
Mm.
just not talking as a one-off while you're doing a dazzling presentation, but the way people experiencing you while you're making a cup of tea in the kitchen and shooting the breeze, or the way you behave when you're online in the most incredibly boring long meeting.
Mm.
What's your behavior then? Or how
Mm.
you handle a difficult person. Like, all of those things, the
So how you
accumulation
do
of.
one thing is how you do everything.
Say that again, Ange, sorry.
When you talk about that, it's about how you do one thing is how you do everything. You're not just good in those times, you are consistent through how you treat people, how you present yourself, how you walk into the room, the energy that you have,
Yeah.
being consistent around those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And, that's how people experience you.
Yeah.
It can be conscious and subconscious, but
Yeah.
they will have an impression of you based on the culmination of all those experiences. So the point is, we are always on the radar. Like, even if you're in business and your little Teams camera's switched off, people are still making assumptions about you, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
And if you want to curate a great career
Mm.
and have a great reputation, then you need to think about these things. I think it's super
Absolutely.
important. You need to be very intentional about the way that you present yourself
Mm.
in terms
Mm.
of your LinkedIn profile and your photo to the behavior that you bring to your work environment.
Yes. Yes. I think I was taught by a mentor many, many years ago. She always looked so stylish and fabulous. And she used to always say to me, Angela, it's like you never want to apologize for how you are, how you're looking. You don't ever want to walk in a room and go, I'm so sorry I'm here today. I'm not dressed properly. It's always better to be overdressed than underdressed. And I think I've done things before where I've done videos about how to do your makeup in literally 5 minutes. When people think, oh, I haven't got time to do all that. Well, let me show you how you can quickly do a full face of makeup and brush your hair and get that sorted in 5 minutes. Because I see so many times women have turned up in business, whether it's on a Zoom call, a podcast or something, and, they're not presented at their best. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying full glam. I'm just saying it comes down to self-respect, the way you put yourself out there. And you'll never catch me, where I will be apologizing for how I look or any of that, because I think that is part of my personal brand. That is who I am. That's how I represent myself. And I think that is important. You either make that decision, draw a line in the sand, and that's how I'm going to present myself. That's how I'm going to move, how I'm going to put myself out there in the world. I think it's
Yeah.
really important, especially as women and especially in business and career, and, be taken seriously.
Yeah. Well, and you do it so well, Angie. You always look so polished, that's for sure. And I imagine it helps you be the professional that you want to be in that moment.
It makes me feel like I'm ready for work, I'm ready for the day, and yeah, and
Yeah.
ditto.
Yeah.
That's the same thing about you. I find that, when I think about you, I think obviously you've got this successful coaching business and your brand, and look, you always also present yourself very well, stylish, sophisticated, you're intelligent, and you feel like you like in a grounded way. So what do you think is the secret to confidence and carrying yourself professionally? What do you think it is for you?
Well, I think I genuinely enjoy taking care with what I wear. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you why. I mean, I quite enjoy fashion, all those sort of things. But if I can pull whatever it is that I want to pull off in the morning, and I'll be thoughtful about what I put on based on what
Mhm.
is happening in the day ahead.
Mhm.
Because,
Intention.
Ange, I don't want to think about it again once I close the front door at home.
I
Like,
understand
I
that.
need my head to be in other places. So if I
Absolutely.
can dress myself, feel good, and get on with my day, I'm not going to think about how I look ever again for the rest of the day. Maybe if I go into the bathroom, it's like, maybe put some lipstick on or something like that. But that's about as deep and meaningful as it gets in terms of thinking about myself. And that
Mhm.
seems to work well for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I,
Right.
I'm thoughtful in the morning and then I just move on. And it
Mm.
helps me step into, like you, that professional space
Mhm.
and perform at a higher level. So
Mm.
that's one thing. I don't think many people are naturally gifted in confidence, Ange. I think
Mm.
most of us have to
Great.
consciously work on it over time. I
Yeah.
honestly do believe that.
Yeah.
And people will say to me, you're so confident and everything. But it's taken me years
Mm.
to be in this
Mhm.
place now and to be able to navigate
Mhm.
difficult things with confidence. You spoke about this earlier on, and
Mm.
I'm a huge advocate of it as well. I think one of the biggest things I've learned is the importance of having the right people around you. Like,
Mhm.
spend time with high quality people
Absolutely.
who inspire you, people who
Mhm.
challenge you, people who think about things differently,
Mhm.
people who encourage your growth. Like,
Yeah.
I've always found confidence grows in environments where you feel expanded. It could be an
Yes.
exercise group, it could be a mastermind, it could be like you and I have this lovely connection and we're always sharing and we always talk about, how we feel. We don't use this language, but how we feel expanded
Yes.
afterwards,
Yeah.
and that is part of being with the right people. And I must say, as I get older, I'm less tolerant of being around negative people.
Mhm.
Like, once I just kind of would have thought, poor them.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, it takes my energy and
Yeah.
and
It does.
and I don't want my energy taken.
It does.
So I feel like I'm like a little puff of smoke at getting out of there. So I think that's the other thing. The other thing I want to say, I feel like I've got lots to say on this subject, is I
Love it.
think body language matters enormously.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And
Find
I think
out
it's such a quick win.
what's your take on that?
Well, what the research says is there is a huge connection between our physical state, so what we do with our body, and our emotional
Mhm.
state. Like, try sitting in a really slumped position, for
Mhm.
half an hour in a meeting and see how you feel. And then try and sit in a really open, receptive,
Mhm.
upright state and see how you feel. And
Yeah.
I bet they are very different words that you'd use to describe
Yeah.
those both emotional states. So if you're walking into a meeting, think about how you're walking and the energy that you have in your body, because you're going to look more confident, but
Mhm.
more importantly, you're going to feel that confidence.
Mm. Mhm.
And people respond to energy. Like,
Yes, I do.
presence matters in leadership so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your energy is your most valuable currency and you must spend it wisely. And that is, I think it's what you're just talking about then. It's almost changing your state. Like if you're in this negative situation, change your state, get up, move around a little bit. I find that if I do that, shake off the energy or something like that, get myself into a state, like prepare yourself. If you're going to go and speak, you're going to speak to your boss, or you're going to go to a meeting, or you're going to be a leader in front of your team or whatever, prepare yourself. Get ready for that. Take the deep breaths, take a moment, and put yourself in a state that you need to be. We're not always like that, but I think it's important that you can understand that you can put yourself into a state like that to get the best out of yourself.
Yeah. What did you do, Ange, before you jumped on stage for your TED Talk? Like, you must have been in a state.
I did. I breathed. I had my hands out here, and I did a lot of breathing, and I actually prayed to speak through me, speak through me. And I kind of let it go, I had to. And people say, were you prepared for the TEDx? I wasn't prepared, and I didn't feel prepared until about a minute before I walked on the stage. And I thought, I got this, I'm going to go. And up until then, I had these nerves. But this is the thing about confidence, and this is what I've learned, is that your confidence comes down to trusting yourself. And the more that you can put yourself into scary situations, or push yourself outside of your comfort zone, or take a risk, or challenge yourself in some way, or evolve or upskill or do something, you're going to get confidence. Because what that does, once you do those things, you prove to yourself, I can do hard things. I got through that. Wow, I actually did quite well. And what that does, it just keeps teaching yourself and giving proof to yourself that you can do hard things. That's where the confidence is built, because you're trusting yourself. And the moment you can trust yourself, I could stand on a stage now in the scariest moments, and I can step up there and I can do the job because I did it, because I taught myself to do that. So I gave myself proof. So when I do that, my nervous system goes, okay, she's nervous, but she's all good because she's done it before. Right? So that's where the trust is built. So when people say confidence is all about trust. So find ways where you can learn to trust yourself, and you'll build your confidence. So that takes me back to that. You talk a lot about women in the corporate arena upskilling, right? So evolving, upskilling, learning new things, making sure that they're always not feeling stuck, like they're moving and progressing in their careers. So they're either doing coaching, or they're either doing some sort of leveling up in some way, because I think women, especially, a lot of people do this. They get their degree, or they're in their career, and they go, okay, that's it, I'm done. I don't need to learn anything anymore. I did my degree. Well, no, I don't believe it. I think you constantly got to be upskilling and learning, especially in the world of AI these days. If you don't, I think you're going to be left behind. How do you help women through that to upskill, to get the confidence to be able to, progress in their careers?
I think it's very nuanced, to be quite honest with you, because everyone's at different points and has different experiences and all those sort of things. Like, someone could be, like, a lot of the women that I work with are very educated. They have multiple degrees in some
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
But their upskilling might be in the way that they need to communicate with senior stakeholders. Like, that might be their upskilling opportunity that's going to help them win their career.
Right.
So it's not always, do you know what I mean, modular in you need to be this now, you need to go do this course. And I think that's why coaching is such a great tool for women
Yeah.
to... Because sometimes you can come to coaching and you're like, I feel like this is not working for me, and I'm concerned that this is going to evolve, but they can't articulate it as well as they should be able to. And coaching will identify the gaps and help you fill the gaps. Do you know what I mean? I think it
would articulate it for them and see it for them. What if you did this?
absolutely.
You did that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And there's once you start looking at the different things that are possible for you, and you've got those how-to tools, your confidence comes. Like, I often say to women, would you feel more confident if you knew how to influence in a more persuasive way, if you knew how to present a great business case, if you knew how to deal with that difficult stakeholder, if you knew how to manage the politics in the organization more effectively, would you feel more confident? It's like, yeah, they are
Yes.
all practical skills that can be learned. And
Yeah. Great. Well, see,
you
your
know,
work is so needed, so brilliant. It's awesome, because a lot of women need that, and sometimes they don't see it, and they need those options, presented in front of them. Okay, that's what's going to help me get to here. That's what's going to help me to get to there. And I think that's so important. But I want to finish on this one question, because I know that you went and saw, talking about a class act, you went and saw the fabulous Marmalade. She was in town. And I know I've read her book as well, Becoming Michelle, and it was
Yep.
just yeah. So she's an inspiration. Like she is a fabulous woman. She's a powerhouse. What was one takeaway that you could share with us that you got from Michelle last night that you think would help our audience, or something that inspired you, or really that you really enjoyed?
Yeah. Well, Michelle was great. She was, we talk about confidence.
Yes.
It pours out of her in the most elegant, beautiful way. She's
Mm,
so
mm,
poised and relaxed and real. Like I was a bit worried,
mm,
and that she might be a bit performative. But she
mm,
wasn't at all. She kept it real the whole time.
mm.
She had so many gold nuggets, as you might expect.
Yeah.
And I've read her book too. And the quote I'm going to share you that really resonated with me was actually, I remember reading it in the book, but it was quite a few years ago now. And it was
Mhm,
this: when they go low, we go high.
mm.
Now, in business, there are always going to be people who test you. Maybe they
Yeah.
talk down to you, or they try to get a reaction out of you. Especially as women, I think it's sometimes you feel like you have to prove yourself maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And what I loved about hearing that quote again is that not every battle deserves our energy. It just doesn't. And
Great point.
sometimes the strongest thing we can do is to stay focused, keep our standards
Mhm,
high, and
mhm.
just let our work and ourselves speak for itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent way to end, Gillian. I think you've nailed that as well. It's really beautiful. I remember that as well. She's well known for saying that when they go low, we go high.
We go
And
home.
don't bring ourselves down to that level, nor do we need to. And I think in our younger years, I think it's a lot easier to just go, no, and fight with every single battle there is. But
Yeah.
the more experience that you have and the wiser you become, you realize not fighting every battle and not going down low and making sure that you sort of hold your standards to a high level ultimately will be the thing that gives you the most success. And yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to do that. So I think that's a beautiful way to end today. And you've been amazing. And thank you so much for coming on
I've
here, because there's
enjoyed it so much, and it's
you.
been lovely
Yeah.
sitting here chatting to
Yeah,
you.
I think you have given us so much of your golden nuggets and so much of your lived experience. And I think that so many other women in the corporate arena are going to get a lot out of this as well, in their careers. And you're such a fabulous coach. And where can people find you? Because I know you do your executive coaching. That find you through your website. What was
Yeah,
your
the
website?
website is the best place, which is Gillian Fox. If you just Google that,
Yep.
you'll see it, or just put
Yes.
Gillian Fox Leadership, that will come up. I'm also on
Great.
Instagram, Gillian Fox Leadership, and LinkedIn, Gillian Fox. It's good
Brilliant.
having an
Okay.
unusual name, and it's quite
Yes,
easy
I
to
know.
find me.
I know. I love the name Gillian. I always call you Gilly. Yeah, short for
I love
Gillian.
to. I love
I,
that. My
I
family
know.
call me that. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's lovely. And then I was going to say, I'm going to drop everything into the show notes as well so people can find you. But yes,
Thank
I
you.
really believe as a women's career expert, I think you are like the best out there. I've met so many and spoken to so many, but I think that you are a real class act and you're doing some incredible work out there and helping a lot of women, progress and succeed in the corporate arenas. Congratulations. And thank
Thank
you for
you,
being
and
one of our
thank
guests
you.
today. And if
Yeah, such
anyone
a
else
pleasure.
wants.
Thank you for asking me. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I loved doing this with you.
Thanks, Gillian. It's amazing. I'll see you
Okay.
soon. And thanks, everybody. And I'll see you in the next episode of Harmony in the Hustle. Bye for now.
So good, Ed. You're such a pro.